It is clearly stated here that the entire universe is bewildered. Thus, even great demigods like Indra and Brahma are not exempt from the principle of forgetfulness. Since Lord Krishna exercised his internal illusory potency over his cowherd boyfriends and calves, it is not at all astonishing that for 1 year they could not remember their position. Indeed, by the Lord's external illusory potency, the conditioned souls forget their existence not only for 1 year, but for many billions and billions of years as they transmigrate throughout the kingdom of ignorance called the material world. Interesting. Text 45. The cowherd boyfriends said to Lord Krishna, "You have returned so quickly. We have not eaten even one morsel in your absence. Please come here and take your meal without distraction." Purport of Srila Prabhupada. The words Swagatam A.T. Ramasa indicate that the Calvin boys were congratulating Lord Krishna for having brought the calves back so quickly from the forest. Now, Lord Krishna's beloved friends urged him to sit down properly and eat to his full satisfaction, according to Srila Prabhupada's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The cowherd boy felt quite jubilant and were eager to eat with their dear friend Krishna. Text 46. Then Lord Shikesha smiled, finished his lunch in the company of his cowherd friends. While they were returning from the forest to their homes in Braja, Lord Krishna showered the cowherd boys with the skin of the dead serpent Agasura. Text 47. Lord Krishna's transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers and painted with forest minerals, and his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. As he called out to his calves by names, his cowherd boyfriends purified the whole world by chanting his words. Thus, Lord Krishna entered the cow pasture of his father, Nanda Maharaja, and the sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival for the eyes of all the cowherd women. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, the gopis mentioned here are the elder cowherd ladies, such as Mother Yasoda, who love Krishna with parental affection. Krishna's cowherd boyfriends were so proud of Krishna's wonderful activities that while entering the village, they all sang his glories. Text 48. As the cowherd boys reached the village of Raja, they sang, "Today, Krishna saved us by killing the great serpent." Some of the boys described Krishna as the son of Yashoda, and others as the son of Nanda Maharaja. Purport. Actually, Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura 1 year earlier, but the boys, bewildered by the mystic potency of Rama for 1 year, did not notice the time passing and thus thought that on that very day Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura and was now returning home with them. Text 49. King Parikshit said, "O Brahma, how could cowherd women have developed for Krishna, someone else's son, such unprecedented pure love, love they never felt even for their own children? Please explain." Text 50. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, "O king, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything else, children, wealth, and so on, is due only to the dearness of the self." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes modern thinkers become puzzled when they study the psychology of moral behavior. Although every living entity is inclined towards self-preservation, as stated here, sometimes a person voluntarily sacrifices his own apparent interest through philanthropic or patriotic activities, such as giving his money for the benefit of others or giving his life for the national interest. Such so-called selfless behavior appears to contradict the principle of material self-centeredness and self-preservation. As explained in this verse, however, a living entity serves its society, nation, family, and so on only because these objects of affection represent the expanded concept of false ego. A patriot sees himself as a great servitor of a great nation, and thus he sacrifices his life to gratify his his sense of egotism. Similarly, it is common knowledge that a man feels great pleasure by thinking that he is sacrificing everything to please his dear wife and children. A man derives great egotistic pleasure by seeing himself as a selfless well-wisher of his so-called family and community. Thus, to gratify his proud sense of false ego, a man is prepared even to lay down his life. This apparently contradictory behavior is yet another demonstration of the bewilderment of material life, which has neither rhyme nor reason, being a manifestation of gross ignorance of the non-material soul. Text 51. For this reason, O best of kings, the embodied soul is self-centered. He is more attached to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions, like children, wealth, and home. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is now common practice all over the world for a mother to kill her own child within the womb if the birth of that child represents any inconvenience for her. Similarly, grown children eagerly place their elderly parents in lonely institutions rather than be inconceivable by their presence at home. These and innumerable other examples prove that people in general are more attached to their own body and self, which represent I-ness, I-ness, than to their family and other possessions, which represent minus. That means, okay, so it's not minus like one less, but minus belonging to oneself. Although conditioned souls are very proud of their so-called love for society, family, and so forth, in reality, even conditioned soul is acting on the platform of gross or subtle selfishness. Text 52. Indeed, for persons who think the body is the soul, O best of kings, those things whose importance lies only in their relationship to the body are never as dear as the body itself. 53. If a person comes to the stage of considering the body mine instead of me, he will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self. After all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong. Purport. The word mamata pak is very significant here. An ordinary foolish person thinks, I am this body. A more discriminating, intelligent person thinks, this is my body. In the literature and folklore of ordinary people, we find the common theme of an old, decrepit person dreaming of obtaining a new, young body. Thus, even ordinary persons pick up the notion of self-realization instinctively, understanding that it is possible for the soul to exist in many different bodies. As the body of an intelligent person becomes old and useless, he strongly desires to live, even when he knows that his body cannot live much longer. This indicates he is gradually becoming aware that his self is more important than his body. Thus, simply the desire for life can indirectly bring one to a preliminary understanding of self-realization. And in this case as well, one's basic attachment is to one's own self and not to that which supposedly belongs to oneself. It may be pointed out that the entire discussion between King Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami regarding the dearness of one's own self is ultimately meant for broaching the subject of why the cows and cowherd ladies of Vrindavana considered Krishna more dear than their own selves, and certainly more dear than their own offspring. The discussion proceeds as follows. Text 54. Therefore, it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being. And it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exists. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word characharam indicates moving living entities, such as animals, and non-moving living entities, such as trees. Or the word may also refer to moving possessions, such as one's family and pets, and non-moving possessions, such as one's house and household paraphernalia. Text 55. You should know Krishna to be the original soul of all living entities. For the benefit of the whole universe, he has out of his out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency. In the Chaitanya purport, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 162, Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse as follows. Parikshit Maharaja asked Sukadeva Goswami why Krishna was so beloved by the residents of Vrindavan, who loved him even more than their own offspring or life itself. At that time, Sukadeva Goswami replied that everyone's Atma or soul is very, very dear, especially to all living entities who have accepted material bodies. But that Atma, the spirit soul, is part and parcel of Krishna. For this reason, Krishna is very dear to every living entity. Everyone's body is very dear to oneself, and one wants to protect the body by all means because within the body the soul is living. Due to the intimate relationship between the soul and the body is important and dear to everyone. Similarly, the soul, being part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is very, very dear to all living entities. Unfortunately, the soul forgets this constitutional position and thinks he is only the body. Dehatma buddhi, thus the soul is subjected to the rules and regulations of the material nature. When a living entity by his intelligence reawakens his attraction to Krishna, he can understand that he is not the body, but part and parcel of Krishna. Thus, filled with knowledge, he no longer labors under attachment to the body and everything related to the body. Janasya moha yam aham mameki. Material existence, wherein one thinks, I am the body and this belongs to me, is also illusory. One must redirect his attraction to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.7 states, Vasudeve Bhagavate Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yasvara Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Text 56. Those in this world who understand Lord Krishna as he sees all things, whether stationary or moving, as manifest form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such enlightened persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Second. Purport. Everything exists within Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna exists within everything. Still, the order of progression is always from the energetic to the expanded energy. Lord Krishna is the original identity from whom all other identities emanate. He is the supreme energetic from whom all categories and dimensions of energy become manifest. Thus, our personal bodies, self, family, friend, nation, planet, universe, and so on are all manifestations of the Supreme Lord, who expands himself through his personal potency. Lord Krishna is certainly the supreme object of our love and attraction, and other objects, such as body, family, and home, should be secondary objects of our affection. Moreover, a close analytic study of the actual situation will reveal that even the secondary objects of love are also manifestations of Lord Krishna. The conclusion is that Lord Krishna is our only friend and object of love. In his Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse as follows. Without being an expansion of Krishna, nothing can be attractive. Whatever is attractive within the cosmic manifestation is due to Krishna. Krishna is therefore the reservoir of all pleasure, the active principle of everything is Krishna, and highly elevated transcendentalists see everything in connection with him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that a Mahabhagavata, a highly advanced devotee, sees Krishna as the active principle of all movable and immovable living entities. Therefore, he sees everything within this cosmic manifestation in relation to Krishna. Text 57. The original unmanifested form of material nature is the source of all material things, and the source of even that subtle material nature is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What then could one ascertain to be separate from him? Text 58. For those who have accepted the vote of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon. The ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Their goal is Padam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Purport. This translation is taken from Srila Prabhupada's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 51. According to Srila Sridhara Goswami, this verse summarizes the knowledge presented in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna's lotus feet are described as palava, flower bud, because they are most tender and of a pinkish hue. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the word palava also indicates that Lord Krishna's lotus feet are just like desire trees, which can fulfill all the desires of the Lord's pure devotees. Even exalted devotees like Sri Narada, who are themselves the great shelter for the conditioned souls in this universe, personally take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Thus, it is natural that when Lord Krishna manifested himself as all the young boys and calves of Vrindavana, their parents were more attracted to them than previously. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure and, being all attractive, the ultimate object of everyone's love. Text 59. Since you inquired from me, I have fully described to you those activities of Lord Hari that were performed in his 5th year, but not celebrated until his 6th. Text 60. Any person who hears or chants these pastimes, Lord Murari performed with his cowherd friends, the killing of Aghasura, the taking of lunch on the forest grass, the Lord's manifestation of transcendental forms, and the wonderful prayers offered by Lord Brahma, is sure to achieve all his spiritual desires. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, according to Srila Sanatana Goswami, even one who is only inclined to hear and chant the pastimes of Lord Krishna will achieve spiritual perfection. Many devotees seriously engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness are often so busy that they cannot chant and hear the pastimes of the Lord to their full satisfaction. However, simply by their intense desire to always chant and hear about Lord Krishna, they will achieve spiritual perfection. Of course, as far as possible, one should actually vibrate these transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Text 61. In this way, the boys spent their childhood in the land of Vrindavan, playing hide and go seek, building play bridges, jumping about like monkeys, and engaging in many other such games. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the word Nila Yanai refers to games such as hide and seek. Hide and go seek, or cops and robbers. Sometimes the boys would jump around like the monkeys in Lord Ramachandra's army, and then enact the building of the bridge to Sri Lanka by constructing play bridges in lakes or ponds. Sometimes the boys would imitate the pastime of churning the ocean of milk, and sometimes they would play catch with balls. We can find full pleasure in the spiritual world with the simple condition that everything be performed in pure love of Godhead, Krishna consciousness. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Rama's Prayers to Lord Krishna. Now we go to chapter 15. The killing of Dhanuka, the ass demon. This chapter describes how Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna, while tending the cows in the pastures of Vrindavan, killed Dhanuka, enabled the residents of Vrindavan to eat the fruits of the tala trees, and saved the young cowherds from Kaliya poison. Revealing their boyhood, Ganga, fades of pastime. Rama and Krishna were one day bringing the cows to pasture when they entered an attractive forest decorated with a clear lake. There they began playing forest sports along with their friends. Pretending to tire, Lord Balarama laid his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy and rested as Lord Krishna helped relieve his elder brother's fatigue by massaging his feet. Then Krishna also placed his head on the lap of a cowherd boy to rest, and another cowherd boy massaged his feet. In this way, Krishna, Balarama, and their cowherd friends enjoyed various pastimes. During this play, Sridhama, Subala, Strota, Krishna, and other cowherd boys described to Rama and Krishna a wicked and irresponsible demon named Dhanuka, who had assumed the form of a jackass and was living in the Talavana forest near Govardhan Hill. This forest was full of many varieties of sweet fruits, but fearing this demon, no one dared to try to relish the taste of those fruits, and thus someone had to kill the demon and all of his associates. Lord Rama and Lord Krishna, hearing of the situation, set off for this forest to fulfill the desire of their companions. Arriving at the Talavana, Lord Balarama shook many fruits out of the palm trees. As soon as he did so, the jackass demon, Dhanuka, ran swiftly to attack him. But Balarama grabbed his hind leg and with one whirled him around and threw him into the lap of a tree. This slaying him, thus slaying him, all of Dhanuka's friends, overcome by fury, then rushed to attack. But Rama and Krishna took hold of them one by one, swung them around and killed them until the disturbance was finally finished. When Krishna and Balarama returned to the cowherd community, Yasoda and Rukmini placed them on their respective laps. They kissed their faces, fed them with finely prepared food, and then put them to bed. Some days later, Lord Krishna went with his friends, but without his older brother, to the banks of the Kalindi in order to tend the cows. The cows and cowherd boys became very thirsty and drank some water from the Kalindi, but it had been contaminated with poison, and they all fell unconscious on the riverbank. Krishna then brought them back to life by the merciful rain of his plants, and all of them regained their consciousness, appreciated his great mercy. Text number 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, When Lord Rama and Lord Krishna attained the age of Bodhanga, 6 to 10, while living in Vrindavan, the cowherd men allowed them to take up the task of tending the cows, engaging thus in the company of their friends. The two boys rendered the land of Vrindavana most auspicious by imprinting upon it the marks of their lotus feet. Purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Krishna wanted to encourage his cowherd boyfriends, who had been swallowed by Agasura and then stolen by Lord. Therefore, the Lord decided to bring them into the palm tree forest called Talavana, where there were many delicious ripe fruits. Since Lord Krishna's spiritual body had apparently grown slightly in age and strength, the senior men of Vrindavana, headed by Nanda Maharaj, decided to promote Krishna from the task of herding cows to the status of a regular cowherd boy. He would now take care of the full-grown cows, bulls, and oxen. Out of great affection, Nanda Maharaj had previously considered Krishna too small and immature to take care of full-grown cows and bulls. It is stated in the Kartika Mahatmya section of the Padma Purana. Suklastami Kartike tu Smita Gopastami Udhaya Tad Dinad Vasudevo Bud Gopa Urvam to Vatsapa. The 8th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartika is known by authorities as Gopastami. From that day, Lord Vasudeva served as a cowherd, whereas previously he had tended the cows. The word Padai indicates that Lord Krishna blessed the earth by walking on her surface with his lotus feet. The Lord wore no shoes or other foot gear, but walked barefoot in the forest, giving great anxiety to girls of Vrindavana, who feared that his soft lotus feet would be injured. Text number 2. Thus desiring to enjoy pastime, Lord Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories, and accompanied by Lord Baladeva, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavana forest, which were full of flowers and rich with nourishment for the animals. Well, that's very important that the animals are well nourished. Purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained the various meanings of the word Madhava as follows. Madhava normally indicates Krishna to be the Lord, who is the consort of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. This name also implies that Lord Krishna descended in the dynasty of Madhu, since the spring season is also known as Madhu. It is understood this is understood that as soon as Lord Krishna entered the Vrindavana forest, it automatically exhibited all the opulences of spring, becoming filled with flowerless breezes and a celestial atmosphere. Another reason Lord Krishna is known as Madhava is that he enjoys his pastime in Madhu, the taste of conjugal love. Lord Krishna would loudly sound his flute as he entered the forest of Sri Vrindavana, thus giving inconceivable bliss to all the residents of his hometown, Rajadhana. These simple pastimes of playfully entering forest, playing on the flute and so forth, with uh, performing daily in the spiritual land of Vrindavan. Text number 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead looked over that forest, which resounded with the charming sounds of bees, animals, and birds, and which was enhanced by a lake whose clear water resembled the minds of great souls, and by a breeze carrying the fragrance of hundreds hundred petaled lotuses. Seeing all this, Lord Krishna decided to enjoy the auspicious atmosphere. Purport for Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna saw that the Vrindavana forest was giving pleasure to all five senses. The bees, birds, and animals made charming sounds that brought sweet pleasure to their ears. The wind was faithfully rendering service to the Lord by blowing throughout the forest, carrying the cool moisture of a transparent lake, and thus giving pleasure to the sense of touch. By the sweetness of the wind, even the sense of taste was being stimulated, and the fragrance of lotus flowers was bringing pleasure to the nostrils. And the entire forest of lotus, and the entire forest was endowed with heavenly beauty, which was giving spiritual bliss to the eyes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has thus explained the significance of this verse. Text 4. The primeval Lord saw that the saintly trees, with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavenly burden of fruits and flowers, were bending down to touch his feet with the tips of their branches. Thus he smiled gently and addressed his elder brother. Purport. The words Mutha Samana, Samayan, Eva indicate that Lord Krishna was in a joking mood. He knew that the trees were actually bowing down to worship him. But in the following verse, the Lord, speaking in a friendly, light-hearted mood, gives the credit to his brother Balarama. Text number 5. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O greatest of words, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The trees of Vrindavana were thinking that because of past offenses, they had now taken birth as trees, and being immovable, could not accompany Lord Krishna in his wanderings throughout the Vrindavana area. In fact, all the creatures of Vrindavana, including the trees and cows, were great devotees who could personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because of ecstatic sense of separation, the trees considered themselves in ignorance and thus tried to purify themselves by bowing down at the lotus feet of Krishna and Balarama. Lord Krishna understood their mentality. Simultaneously, glanced at them with affection and praised their devotional service before his older brother Balarama. Text number 6. O original personality, these beings must all be great sages and most elevated devotees of yours, for they are worshiping you and following you along the path and chanting your glories. which are themselves a holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself within this forest, O sinless one, they refuse to abandon you, their worshipable Lord. Purport of Srila Prabhupada. The word Gudham is significant in this verse. It indicates that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its form of Krishna or Balarama appears like an ordinary human being within the material world, great sages always recognize the Lord as the Supreme Absolute Truth. All the transcendental forms of Godhead are eternal and full of bliss and knowledge, exactly the opposite of our material bodies, which are temporary and full of misery and ignorance. One meaning of the word tirtha is the means for crossing beyond material existence. Simply by hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord or by chanting them, one immediately comes to the spiritual platform beyond material existence. Thus, the Lord's transcendental glory are here described as a tirtha for everything in the world. The word Dayanta indicates that great sages give up their vows of silence and other selfish processes to glorify the activities of the Supreme Lord. Real silence means not to speak nonsense, to limit one's verbal activities to those sounds, statements, and discussions relevant to the loving service of the Supreme Lord. The word anaga indicates that the Supreme Lord never performs sinful or offensive activities. The word also indicates that the Lord immediately excuses a sin or offense committed by a sincere, loving devotee who may accidentally deviate from the Lord's service. In the specific context of this verse, the word anaga indicates that Lord Balarama was not disturbed by the bees who were constantly following him. Anupatam, the Lord blessed them by saying, "O bees, come into my confidential grove and feel free to taste its fragrance." Text number 7. O worshipable one, these peacocks are dancing before you out of joy. These doe are pleasing you with affectionate glances, just as the gopis do, and these cuckoos are honoring you with Vedic prayers. All these residents of the forest are most fortunate, and their behavior towards you certainly benefits great souls, receiving another great soul at home. Text number 8. This earth has now become most fortunate because you have touched the grass and bushes with your feet, and her trees and creepers with your fingernails. And because you have graced her rivers, mountains, birds, and animals with your merciful glances, but above all, you have embraced the young cowherd women between your two arms. A favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself. Purport. The word adya, now, indicates the time of Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna's appearance on the earth. In his form of Varaha, Lord Krishna personally saved the earth, and indeed the earth is understood to rest perpetually on the potency of Shesha. Both Varaha and Shesha are expansions of Balaram, who is himself an expansion of Lord Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna stated that this earth has now become most fortunate. Tanyayam Adya Dharani indicates that nothing can equal the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his personal feature as Krishna, appearing simultaneously with his plenary expansion, Balaram. The compound word Garad Dim touched by your fingernails indicates that as Krishna and Balarama would move through the forest, they would pick fruits and flowers from the trees, bushes, and creepers, and use this paraphernalia in their pleasure pastime. Sometimes they would break leaves off the plants and use them with the flowers to decorate their bodies. Krishna and Balarama would dance lovingly and mercifully at all the rivers, hills, and creatures in Vrindavan. But the blessing received by the goat being embraced directly between the Lord's arms was the supreme benediction, desired even by the goodness of fortune. Some but the blessing received by the goat being embraced directly between the Lord's arms was the supreme benediction, desired even by the goddess of fortune herself. The goddess of fortune, who lives in Vaikuntha on the chest of Lord Narayana, once desired to be embraced on the chest of Sri Krishna, and thus she performed severe austerities to achieve this blessing. Sri Krishna informed her that her actual place was in Vaikuntha, and that it was not possible for her to dwell upon his chest in Vrindavan. Therefore, she begged Krishna to allow her to remain on his chest in the form of a golden wine, and he granted her this benediction. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recounts this incident from the Puranas. Text number. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus expressing his satisfaction with the beautiful forest of Vrindavan and its inhabitants, Lord Krishna enjoyed tending the cows and other animals with his friends on the banks of the river Yamuna below Govardhana Hill. Text 10 to 12. Sometimes the honeybees in Vrindavan became so mad with ecstasy that they closed their eyes and began to sing. Lord Krishna, moving along the forest path with his cowherd boyfriend, and Baladeva would then respond to the bees by imitating their singing while his friends sang about his pastime. Sometimes Lord Krishna would imitate the chattering of a parrot, sometimes with a sweet voice the call of a cuckoo, and sometimes the cooing of swans. Sometimes he vigorously imitated the dancing of a peacock, making his cowherd boyfriends laugh, sometimes with a voice as deep as the rumbling of clouds. He would call out with great affection the names of the animals who had wandered far from the herd, thus enchanting the cows and the cowherd boys. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sanatan Goswami explains that Lord Krishna would joke with his friends, saying, "Just look, this peacock does not know how to dance properly." Whereupon the Lord would vigorously imitate the peacock's dancing, causing great laughter among his friends. The bees in Vrindavana would drink the sap of the forest flowers and the combination of this nectar and the association of Sri Krishna made them mad with intoxication. Thus they closed their eyes, thus they closed their uh, eyes in ecstasy and expressed their satisfaction by humming. And thus humming was also expertly imitated by the Lord. Text 13. Sometimes he would cry out in imitation of birds such as the chakora, crow, unchas, chakra, ba, Maharaj, and peacocks. And sometimes he would run away with the smaller animals in mock fear of lions and tigers. The word pita, as if afraid, indicates that Lord Krishna played just like an ordinary boy and ran with the smaller forest creatures in mock fear of the lions and tigers. Actually, in Vrindavana, the abode of the Lord, the lions and tigers are not violent, and thus there is no reason to fear them. Text 14. When his elder brother, fatigued from playing, would lie down with his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna would help him relax by personally massaging his feet and offering other services. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word pada samvahan dihi indicates that Lord Krishna would massage Balarama's feet, fan him, and bring him river water to drink. Well, that's a text uh, that river water to drink is very beneficial because it's running water. It's not standing water. And that means that the water is very, very tasty and beneficial. Sometimes, as the cowherd boys danced, sang, moved about, and playfully fought with each other, Krishna and Balarama, standing nearby, hand in hand, would glorify their friends' activities and laugh. Text 16. Sometimes Lord Krishna grew tired fighting and lay down at the base of a tree, resting upon a bed made of soft twigs and buds, and using the lap of a cowherd friend as his pillow. Purport of Srila Prabhupada. The word Palava Talpesu implies that Lord Krishna expanded himself into many forms and lay down upon the many beds, twigs, leaves, and flowers, hastily constructed by his enthusiastic cowherd. Text 17. Some of the cowherd boys, who were all great souls, would then massage his lotus feet, and others, qualified by being free of all sin, would expertly fan the Supreme Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Samavijayan indicates that the cowherd boys fanned the Lord very carefully and expertly, creating gentle and cooling breezes. Text 18. My dear king, other boys would sing enchanting songs appropriate to the occasion, and their hearts would melt out of love for the Lord. Text 19. In this way, the Supreme Lord, whose soft lotus feet are personally attended by the goddess of fortune, concealed his love, his light, his transcendental opulence by his internal potency, and acted like the son of a cowherd. Yet, even while enjoying like a village boy in the ceremony of their village residence, he often exhibited feats only God could perform. Text 20. Once, some of the cowherd boys, Sridama, the very close friend of Brahma and Krishna, along with Subala, Stoka, Krishna, and others, lovingly spoke the following words. Purport. The word Pramna, with love, indicates that the requests the cowherd boys are about to place before Lord Krishna and Balarama is motivated by love, not personal desire. The cowherd boys were eager for Krishna and Balarama to exhibit their pastimes of killing demons and to enjoy the delicious fruit of the Tala forest. And therefore, they made the following request. Text 21. Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dusta Nivartmana Ito Vidure Su Maha Vanam Talali Sankulam. The cowherd boy said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants. Not far from here is a very great forest, filled with rows of palm trees. Purport, as stated in the Sri Varaha Purana, Asti Govardhanam Rama Chitram Paramam Durlabam Mathura Pasime Bhage Adurat Yojana Vayam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, at a distance of 2 yojanas, 16 miles, is the holy place named Govardhan, which is most difficult to attain. It is also stated in the Varaha Purana. Astitala Vanam Nama Denukasura Rakshitam Madura Paschime Bhage Adurad Eka Yojanam. Not far from the western side of Madura, one yogana, always 8 miles, is the forest known as Talavana, which was caused by Dhanakasura. Thus, it appears that the Talavana forest is located midway between Mathura and Govardhan Hill. The forest of Talavana is described in the Sri Harivilas as follows. Satu Desa Samas Likta Sumahan Krishna Mitkitaha Darva Deyam Da Darva Priya Dilibu Do Lostra Pasana Varchita. The land there is even, smooth, and very expensive. The earth is flat, densely covered with darba grass and devoid of moss. Covered with darba grass and devoid of stones and feathers. Text 22. Kalani Tatra Burdani Patanti Patitani Cha Santi Kintu Avarudani Danu Kena Duratmanam. In that Talavana forest, many fruits are fallen from the trees, and many are already lying on the ground. But all the fruits are being guarded by the evil Danuka. Purport. The demon Danuka would not allow anyone to eat the delicious ripe palm fruits of the Talavana. And Krishna's young boyfriends protested this unjust usurpation of the right to enjoy the fruits of a public forest. Text 23. O Ram, O Krishna, Dhanuka is most powerful demon and has assumed the form of an ass. He is surrounded by many friends who have assumed a similar shape and who are just as powerful as he. Text 24. The demon in Dhanuka has eaten men alive. Wow. The demon Dhanuka has eaten men alive, and therefore all people and animals are terrified of going to the Tala forest. All killer of the animal. Even the birds are afraid to fly there. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The cowherd boyfriends of Lord Krishna and Balarama encouraged the two brothers to go at once to the Tala forest and kill the ass demon. Indeed, here they address the brothers as Amitrahan, killer of the enemy. The cowherd boys were engaged in ecstatic meditation upon the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And reason thus, Krishna has already killed terrible demons like Baka and Anga. So what is so special behind the obnoxious jackass named Danuka, who has become public enemy number one in Vrindavan? The cowherd boys wanted Krishna and Balaram to kill the demons so that all the pious inhabitants of Vrindavana could enjoy the fruits in the Tala forest. Thus they requested the special favor that had the cowherd boys wanted Krishna and Balaram to kill the demons so that all the pious inhabitants of Vrindavana could enjoy the fruits in the Tala forest. Thus, they requested the special favor that the ass demons be killed. Text 25. In the Tala forest are sweet-smelling fruits no one has ever tasted. Indeed, even now we can smell the fragrance of the Tala fruits spreading all about. According to Sridhara Swami, the sweet fragrance of the Tala fruits was carried by an easterly wind, which is conducive to rain in the Vrindavan area. This easterly wind generally blows in the month of Bhadra and thus indicates the excellent ripeness of the fruits, while the fact that the boys could smell them indicates the nearness of the Tala forest. Excuse me. Text 26. O Krishna, please get those fruits for us. Our minds are so attracted by their aroma. Dear Balaram, our desire to have those fruits is very great. If you think it's a good idea, let's go to that Tala forest. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although neither man nor bird nor beast could even approach the Tala forest, the cowherd boys had much faith in Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram that they took it for granted the two birds could effortlessly kill the sinful as demons and acquire the delicious tongue foods. Lord Krishna, however, cowherd boyfriend, or exalted, self-realized soul who would eat and ordinarily would ordinarily become greedy for sweet food. In fact, they are simply joking with the Lord and enthusing his pastime, urging him to perform unprecedented heroic feats in the Tower forest. Innumerable demons disturb the sublime atmosphere of Vrindavana during Lord Krishna's presence there, and the Lord would kill such demons as a popular daily event. Since Lord Krishna had already killed many demons, on this particular day he decided to give first honors to Lord Balarama, and he would diminish the demon attracted, the demon Denuka, by the words Yadi Rochite. The cowherd boys indicate that Lord Krishna and Lord Balarama need not kill the demons simply to satisfy them. Rather, they should do so only if the lords themselves found the concept appealing. Text 27. Hearing the words of their dear companions, Krishna and Balarama laughed and, desiring to please him, set off for the telephone, surrounded by their cowherd boyfriends. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna was thinking, how can a mere ass be so formidable? And thus he smiled at the position of his boyfriend. He gathered and cried with common in the serene Parliament 5.38.30 with. And thus he smiled at the petition of his boyfriend and stated by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.28.32. Pasam Hadir Avana Takila Loka Tivra Sokasru Sagara Visosanam Ati Udaram. The smile and laughter of the Supreme Lord Hari is most magnanimous indeed. For those who bow down to the Lord, his smile and laughter dry up the ocean of tears caused by the intense suffering of this world. Thus, to encourage their boyfriends, Lord Krishna and Lord Balarama smiled, laughed, and immediately set out with them for the Tawa forest. Yeah, because there are very nice fruits in the Tawa forest, but the demons are not letting them eat them. So, text 28. Lord Balarama entered the Tawa forest first. Then, with his two arms, he began forcibly shaking the trees with the power of a maddened elephant, causing the Tawa fruits to fall to the ground. Text 29. Hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the ass demon Danu ran forward to attack, making the earth and trees tremble. Text 30. The powerful demon rushed up to Lord Baladeva and sharply struck the Lord's chest with the hooves of his hind legs. Then Danuka began to run about, braying loudly. Text 31. Moving again toward Lord Balarama, O king, the furious ass situated himself with his back toward the Lord. Then, screaming in rage, the demon hurled his two hind legs at him. Purport. The word upagrosta indicates an ass and also one who is crying out nearby. Thus, it is indicated herein that the powerful Danica made horrible, angry sound. Text 32. Lord Balarama seized Danica by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand, and threw him top, into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Text 33. And I told,
Hare Krishna one.
yeah.
We are at time as well.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I'll just finish reading on the plan. Lord Balaram seized Danica by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand, and threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, the takeaway for today. Takeaway for today. Lord Balarama entered the Tala forest first. Then, with his two arms, he began forcibly shaking the trees with the power of a maddened elephant, causing the Tala fruits to fall to the ground. See, now that's one way to get the fruits. Hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the ass demon Danica ran forward to attack, making the earth and trees tremble. The powerful demon rushed up to Lord Baladeva and sharply struck the Lord's chest with the hooves of his hind legs. Then Danica began to run about, braying loudly, thinking that he had hurt the Lord Baladeva. Moving again toward Lord Balarama, O king, the furious ass situated himself with his back toward the Lord. Then, screaming in rage, the demon hurled his two hind legs at him. Purport. The word upakrosta indicates an ass, and also one who is crying out loud nearby. Thus, it is indicated herein that the powerful Danica made horrible, angry sounds. Lord Balarama seized Danica by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand, and threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Haribo! Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. That's what happens to demons. Krishna can grab them by the feet and whirl them in the air until they die. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, my dear devotees. All glories to Shiva. And we'll continue tomorrow in hearing and hear what happened to Danica and the demon whose being whirled about with one hand and thrown into the top of a palm tree. And because of the violent wheeling motion, killed the demon. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Demons are always, let's say, cursed to be killed because of the horrors and problems that they create. And devotees have the ability to kill them because they have the power given to them by Krishna. But if one is not really pure and engaged always in Krishna's service, they will not have the power to kill the demons. Okay, so we'll stop there and chant Hare Krishna today with love and devotion for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
How do you call Mataji?
Yes, Maharaj, amazing lecture as always. I would like to make a comment. The demon presiding over the current era of Kali Yuga is more about they're described as internal negative traits, like with alcohol, gambling, and vice versa, more than the monsters, physical monsters that used to appear during Krishna's time. Can you please expand on that? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Well, to expand about that, I'm not sure, but what's being said here is that there were very powerful demons during the time of Baladev and Krishna. And they were like very powerful dogs. And not dogs, but very powerful
Ass demon?
yeah, asses, meaning horse-like demons. And they had very powerful hooves on their hind legs. So they were like horses. Now, they decided to kill the Lord Balaram. That was one of the asses. So it says that the furious ass situated himself with his back toward the Lord. Yeah, that's the way horses hurt someone. Then, screaming in rage, the demon hurled his two hind legs at him. Okay, so now this powerful demon, the demon of God, who's a horse demon, like a horse, a powerful horse, gets his hind legs and is ready to kill anyone, for example, Lord Balaram, that comes near his hooves. But Lord Balaram catches his hooves and whirls him about with one hand and then threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Just imagine how powerful Lord Balaram is. So, this is what happens to demons. Even though they might be like furious asses, meaning furious like horses, they still are not able to defeat Krishna and his and also Baladeva. And because of that, what happened is that Baladeva grabbed the demon with his two arms and forcibly shaking the tree with the power of a maddened elephant, causing the tala fruits to fall to the ground. And then, hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the ass demon Denuka ran forward to attack, making the earth and trees tremble. But the powerful demon rushed up to Lord Baladeva and sharply struck the Lord's chest with the hooves of his hind legs. Now that is painful, very, very painful, and could be even lethal. Then Denuka began to run about, braying loudly, thinking that, he now hurt Baladev. And now he comes again toward Balarama. And the furious ass situated himself with his back toward the Lord. Yeah, because that's the way they fight. They use their hind legs and to kill. Then, screaming in rage, the demon hurled the two hind legs at him. Okay. However, Lord Balaram seized Denuka by his hooves, his backward hooves, whirled him about with one hand and threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Wow. Just imagine how powerful Balaram is. And he picks up this very powerful horse and whirls him around. And by that whirling, it kills the demon. He didn't even have to punch him or anything like that. Just a whirl. Just imagine how much power Balaram has. And it kills the demon. And then he makes the powerful Denuka made horrible, angry sound. But Lord Balaram was not at all influenced by that. And he grabbed or seized Denuka by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand, and threw him into the top of a palm tree. That means palm trees are really long. The violent wheel motion killed the demon. Wow. Just imagine how fast he was whirled. Okay, we will stop right there. Read a little bit more tomorrow about how Balarama killed the Dhenukasura. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and to praise. It's always good to hear how demons are being killed. Okay, well, let's stop right there and pick it up again. Hare Krishna. All glories to
Srila
Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Unless anybody has a question or comment. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.